Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome. Good afternoon to you from the Egmont Institute and the Slovenian Presidency of the EU. My name is Sven Biscop. I run the Europe in the World program at the Egmont Institute, and I have the honor of chairing this afternoon's webinar with Mr. Matej Tonin, Minister of Defence of Slovenia. Minister Tonin will explain to us in these very first days of the Slovenian presidency his priorities for the common security and defense policy of the Union. And it's of course a very interesting time for this, as the EU is drafting a strategic compass for CSDP, a first full draft of which is expected in November. I will not say much more. I will momentarily pass on the floor to Minister Tonin, just a note of practice. Afterwards, please put your questions in the Q&A instrument that you see at the bottom of your screen, and then we will group questions and give the Minister the chance to answer. First of all, Minister, a warm thank you for being available today to share your insights with us. A warm thank you also on behalf of the Institute for having chosen Egmont as your platform to reach out. I'm looking forward. I mean, since I do a lot of work on CSDP myself, I'm very curious as to what your priorities will be. In any case, let me already wish you a lot of success in achieving them. Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sven, and thank you for having me here. Dear guests, dear friends, it is my pleasure to speak today about Slovenian presidency priorities in the field of common security and defense policy. Only a few days after we took over the presidency of the Council of the European Union. I look forward to today's event. I'm honored to present in more details the focus on our presidency and development of CSDP. So let me start by introducing the Slovenian presidency slogan, "Together, Resilient Europe." In a way, it reflects Slovenia's priorities at the importance of teamwork. Our national priorities for the presidency include resilience, recovery, and strategic autonomy of the European Union. So Slovenia is committed to green and digital transformation. In light of experience gained during the COVID pandemic, attention will be paid to exploring ways of cooperation and incorporating the lessons learned while the pandemic. We will continue the work on the conference on the future of Europe and discussions about the European way of life and the rule of law. Finally, credible and secure European Union capable of ensuring security and stability in its neighborhood is our priority also from the defense point of view. So let me take now and turn from our national to CSDP dimension. So we will work towards strengthening the EU's capacity to respond more appropriately and decisively to crises that have a direct impact on its interest and security. We live in an unpredictable world. Challenges represent opportunities, and the EU needs to be able to respond effectively to security crises that affect our core interests. At the same time, we have to preserve our values and freedoms, build our diversity, and develop our strategic culture. Being different and work together efficiently represents a strength, although the path towards the common denominator is sometimes very challenging, but always rewarding at the end. Slovenia is an active advocate in CSDP, and as such, our history and our geographical settings mark our footprint related to the presidency. At the Ministry of Defence, we will focus on three main priorities during the presidency. First, EU-NATO cooperation. Second, Western Balkans. And third, energy efficiency in defense sector. So in the basket of first priority, so in the field of EU and NATO cooperation, we will continue to promote the proposals originating from the joint declaration, in particular in the areas of countering hybrid and cyber threats, military mobility, and improving civil-military cooperation in the crisis. At the same time, we will continue to strive for a single set of forces, non-duplication, and improved exchange of information between organizations. By strengthening EU and NATO cooperation, we also strengthen transatlantic relations. So we will organize a series of events aimed at finding synergies. We will also deepen the partnership between the organization as a part of development process of both EU strategic compass and the new NATO strategic concept. We favor the idea of signing the third joint declaration, which would further define the strategic partnership between the EU and NATO. By tackling new security and defense challenges, such as disruptive technologies and the impact of climate change, we believe it's important to raise the level of cooperation and trust between organizations. Strengthening resilience is also an important common area where synergies between EU and NATO should be sought. Cooperation in the areas of missions and operations, military mobility, and strengthening of security and defense capabilities in partner countries, which, with a focus on the Western Balkans, represent an important aspect of our presidency priority. So this is our number 2 priority, as I said. We will address this priority also through different events that Slovenia will organize, such, let me count them. The high-level conference on strategic compass and EU-NATO cooperation on 14th of October. It will be organized with the EU ISS in a virtual format. Then a high-level conference with the Friends of Europe on EU and NATO cooperation on 17th of November, taking place in Brussels. The third is the conference on hybrid threats with the Hybrid Center of Excellency, Hybrid Threats Perception vs. Reality, taking place on 24 and 25th November in Ljubljana. So as I mentioned, our second priority is focused on the Western Balkans. We will pursue the national priority of supporting Western Balkans countries in moving closer to Euro-Atlantic integration. The aim is to enhance the formal and informal dialogue with the countries of the region. It will contribute to greater involvement of the countries in the EU defense initiatives, including participation in international operations and missions. The strategic compass, the European Peace Facility, PESCO, and the European Defence Fund can offer the Western Balkans opportunities to build their own capabilities and strengthen resilience. We will support this priority with organizing of several events. Let me mention a few here. So Western Balkans countries are invited to military exercise, which will take place in Slovenia from 18 to 28 of October. It will be international military exercise addressing topics such as military mobility, civil military relations, and disaster relief and civil protection mechanisms. Second, Western Balkans will be included also in our events related to addressing the hybrid challenges. In 2 days, this is on 7th of July, we will conduct a seminar with the EU ISS, the Strategic Compass, and the Western Balkans towards tailor-made and strategic approach to partnership, of course, in a virtual format. And one of the main highlight events will be the EU Western Balkans Summit, which will take place in October in Slovenia. And now we come to our third priority. This is energy efficiency in defense sector, where we will pursue the EU's environmental objectives adopted in the framework of European Green Deal. Energy efficiency in the defense sector will also be pursued in the context of military mobility. We will focus primarily on sustainable mobility projects and the search of alternative fuels for the defense and security sector. Attention will be given also to EU operations and missions and the development of military capabilities, taking into account the principles of energy efficiency and reducing the carbon footprint. At the same time, with these activities, we will promote the European economy, science and innovation sectors, as well as the activities of medium and small enterprises in Slovenia and in the region. The project on Defense Resilience Hub Network in Europe is an example of a good practice where Slovenia is the lead nation in the European Union. The aim of the project is to improve energy efficiency and carbon footprint reduction. A series of events will address this priority. So as I said, military defense seminar on new energy supply models for sustainable and resilient military engagements on 22nd September, taking place in a virtual format. Then consultation forum for sustainable energy in defense and security sector on 23rd and 24th of November in Slovenia. Slovenia is proud to be one of the first few countries that undertook electrical planes for testing in the armed forces. One of the most important issues of the current CSDP agenda is the ongoing process of the strategic compass. Slovenia will actively contribute to the shaping of the strategic compass with the aim of enhancing strategic autonomy and resilience of the European Union, this being also a national presidency priority. We have been actively contributing to the strategic dialogue phase of the compass, also through different food for thought papers. Now we are planning still various seminars and high-level conferences during our presidency. Together with the High Representative, the Slovene presidency's key role will be seeking for a consensus among member states on any open issues. A few days ago, I was a couple of days together with the High Representative Joseph Borrell, and we agreed that we should publish as soon as possible at least rough draft of the strategic compass that we can start talking immediately about the strategic compass and try to find a consensus among the member states, and especially to see exactly where are the open issues. So during the Slovenian presidency, successful coordination and harmonization among member states will be a good starting point for concluding the process during the French presidency in the beginning of 2020. Regarding PESCO, with the fourth cycle of PESCO projects coming up in autumn 2021, we are sure that it would provide concrete proposals that will enhance the capability in the operational domain. It is important that member states also agree on the recommendation concerning the sequencing of the fulfillment of the more binding commitments undertaken in the framework of PESCO and specifying more precise objectives. An important issue in the framework of PESCO will be also the adoption of new management rules concerning the third states. The establishment of the European Peace Facility as a global geographical instrument gives the European Union an efficient tool to continue and enhance existing security-related support. An efficient, comprehensive, and flexible European Peace Facility will improve our ability to project stability in Europe's vicinity according to the 360 degrees approach by assisting our partners in building capacities to enable them to take care of their own security. While we understand that the majority of financial means will be dedicated to funding security needs on the African continent, we need to maintain special attention at our doorstep, for example, by supporting Western Balkans and Eastern neighborhood. Slovenia will, in its presidency role, continue the efforts of the Portuguese presidency in further operationalizing the instrument. The European Defence Fund is targeted at promoting cross-border cooperation, research and development in the area of disruptive technologies. We believe that small and medium-sized enterprises are the source of innovation. That is why we should promote identification of financial incentives of SMEs, and the supply chains should be open widely for them. We are glad that the EFD launch and the working program will be able to finance common cross-border research and development projects in the defense sector. It will contribute the competition of the EU defense industry and to the EU strategic autonomy. Building an initial entry force that train and exercise together would improve EU's readiness to respond to possible future crises backed up by rapidly deployable forces. We believe that strategic compass discussion should provide a platform for finding consensus around this proposal. We see our task and role in striving to find common ground on this idea, which opens the possibility of redefining our level of ambitions and our EU-BG concept. In the field of CSDP missions in operations, important elements will take place in the next period. Currently, the EU has 6 military missions and operations. From the Slovenian perspective, particular attention is given to the CSDP activities in the Western Balkans, where we have the majority of our forces. In the next week period, special attention will be given to Africa and the new UTM Mozambique mission. I would like to emphasize the need for more robust command and control, more effective force generations, and in many cases, more robust and flexible mandates. Here, I'm referring to the EMPCC project that needs to be properly finalized. EU has in recent years made a significant progress in increasing its role as a maritime security provider and is continuing to do so by establishing new tools such as the coordinated maritime presence, which is currently being implemented in the Gulf of Guinea. On the CMP, so Coordinated Maritime Presence, we believe that the strategic compass should provide an opportunity to incorporate lessons learned from the pilot cases in the Gulf of Guinea into our discussions and generate recommendations for establishing other maritime areas of interest in the future. Slovenia's presidency priorities in the area of maritime security will include promoting effective multilateralism and strengthening partnership with the third countries and international organizations. Our focus will also be on maritime activities that strengthen resilience, where special attention will be given to cybersecurity and protection of critical infrastructure. Let me almost finish by addressing the important topic, the fight against hybrid threats. We will carry on this work also through the working group, Horizontal Working Party on enhancing resilience and countering hybrid threats. With this area, we will continue our work on building resilience and enhancing partnership with a focus on the Western Balkans and a EU-NATO cooperation. By this, let me mention the conference with the title Hybrid Threats, Perception was Reality, that will take place on 24 and 25th of November in Ljubljana. Already, I mentioned it before. Finally, yet importantly, I would like to mention a specificity of the Slovenia, where disaster relief and civil protection is a part of defense ministry. We have important activities taking place in the field of the protection of critical infrastructure and civil protection, where important lessons learned in the field of the fight against COVID will be addressed by the relevant services. Slovenian presidency will focus on the development of the Union disaster resilience goals, a new concept introduced in the Union civil protection mechanism with the 2021 amendment of the decision number 1313, 2013. The Slovenia's presidency workshop towards disaster resilience goals will be the first opportunity to set the scene, enable discussions, and design a common approach for development of the Union disaster resilience goals in the area of civil protection. Slovenian presidency will focus also on the various aspects of the development, establishment, and launch of the EU civil protection knowledge network as a key mechanism for connecting all stakeholders and disseminating knowledge to achieve enhanced resilience to natural and man-made disasters. I think that I touch upon all issues which are important for us, and here I can conclude my presentation and briefing.
Thank you, Minister. Indeed, that was already an ambitious list, but as you say, all of it is important. So on all of these items, work certainly must continue. So thank you for that, for setting the bar high for the EU and for CSDP in particular. We already have two questions posed. One is about more in-depth cooperation between armed forces. The question from Emmanuel Jacob from Euromil notably concerns the conditions of personnel and their social security. How do you feel about harmonizing further the employment conditions of military personnel between member states? And there's a second question from an anonymous attendee who asks for your views on China and the Indo-Pacific, which were not mentioned explicitly indeed, and whether they will be on the CSDP agenda for the Slovenian presidency. If I can add a question of my own, so you have three to choose from. How do you estimate the chances to coordinate, or at least to exchange information between EU and NATO, specifically between the drafting of the strategic compass and the drafting of the new strategic concept for NATO? You could argue that the fact that they coincide in time is an opportunity to somehow align EU and NATO activities better, or at the very least, maybe to do away with some misunderstandings. Thank you. I look forward to your answers on those.
I see two documents. One is strategic compass and one is strategic concept as two complementary documents. In a way, those two documents are not competitors, and I see that it's very good that we are preparing both documents in approximately the same time frame. The last time when I visited Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg and I presented him our priorities and what we want to do with the EU-NATO cooperation, in a way, I was surprised because there was many questions what European Union really means with the strategic autonomy. Because within the NATO, we use the phrase strategic many times as a nuclear or as a very important autonomy. But I think that at least view of the big majority of European countries is pretty the same. Strategic autonomy means that Europe should do more for our own security, that we should invest more in our defense, and at the same time, stronger Europe means stronger NATO. So that it is the win-win situation for both organizations and of course for all countries. Many of them are at the same time members of the European Union and members of the NATO. I didn't mention in my presentation China and Russia, as you mentioned, and there is a question. For me, this is a strategic question as well. And for me, crucial thing is how to provide, establish unity among European Union when it comes to questions about Russia and China. And I think that China represents a special challenge towards European Union, that we have to deal with this with this challenge in a smart way. Definitely, we have to approach with the dialogue, but at the same time tell our Chinese friends that we will defend our core and main values no matter what. I think that is a core and the most important message towards our Chinese friend, and to be efficient and to have good results in the end, of course, we need unity among the European Union, and Slovenia will try here our best, because in the last couple of years we can see many differences regarding the approach toward China. And about social security among different armed forces, I have to admit that I don't know the details, and that I will try to learn more what is the problem and what is the issue here which needs to be solved.
Thank you, Minister. Another thank you from a respondent. To all participants, please do put your comments and questions in the Q&A session. Voilà. Shifting regions from the Indo-Pacific and Russia to the Sahel, question from Sami Vincent. How do you see the evolution of the Takuba task force, the French operation, and Europe's engagement in the Sahel region under your presidency? And maybe again, for the sake of the debate, let me answer a question of my own, if I may. Could you elaborate a bit on how you see the resilience agenda, and do you have any specific fields in mind, either to improve EU resilience or to improve EU-NATO cooperation on resilience? Thank you.
About the Sahel region, I understand, even though that Slovenia seems to be far away from the Sahel region, but we can feel a concrete consequences when something somewhere in the Sahel region goes wrong. There is immediate results at our southern Slovenian border, where we have a lot of migrants, illegal migrants, who are coming from this Sahel region. So that's why I see Sahel region as our European neighborhood, and that we are in a way responsible to do whatever we can to provide and to guarantee peace and security in that region. It will be mutually beneficial in a way for the countries in that region and for the Europe as well. We, of course, will be within the presidency supportive of greater involvement in that region. And we don't want just to talk and debate about greater involvement. That's why Slovenia already announced that we will increase the number of Slovenian soldiers in that region, even though that we are a small country with small armed forces, but we would like to show the example that this is the priority. This is an important region where we have to be cautious and at the same time very active. About resilience, when we are talking about resilience in general, I think that crucial thing is education, knowledge, and values. And whatever we can do in those areas, it means greater resilience at the same time, so that we are all aware what are the main crucial European values, that we will defend them, that we are advocates, that we, in a way, talk about many different things, that we increase the awareness of malicious activities of countries which, of course, doesn't want good to the European Union.
Thank you. We have two more questions. One from Admiral Jacques Roziers, former Belgian Defense Policy Director, who asked if you could elaborate on how you see the future of the coordinated maritime presence, which is a quite innovative new instrument that the EU has started to use. And a question from another Belgian, Commander Kurt Engelen. He's with the permanent representation of Belgium to the EU. He says, well, you mentioned the initial entry force, which is indeed an interesting new idea that's now in the debate on the compass. His question is, if you would have such a force, you would also need the swift decision-making processes so that you can deploy the force swiftly. Specific question: could advanced operational planning based on generic scenarios help in this respect? If you agree, who could be responsible for developing such advanced operational plans? And maybe to add on that, Minister, indeed, and any further elaboration on the idea of the initial entry force itself would be welcome. I think the number of 5,000 has been mentioned in the debate. Let's say, talking in army terms, that's a brigade. Is this a more real level of ambition for the EU than the rather smallish battle groups? Thank you.
Yeah, European Union has in recent years made a significant progress in increasing its role as a maritime security provider, and is continuing to do so by establishing new tools such as the coordinated maritime presence, which is currently being implemented in the Gulf of Guinea, as we already were talking. On the CMP, we believe that the strategic compass should provide an opportunity to incorporate lessons learned from the pilot case in the Gulf of Guinea into our discussions and generate recommendations for establishing other maritime areas of interest in the future. So Slovenia's presidency priority in the area of maritime security will include promoting effective multilateralism and strengthening partnership with the third countries and international organizations. Our focus will also be on the maritime activities that strengthen resilience, where special attention will be paid to cybersecurity and protection of critical infrastructure. About initial entry force, building an initial entry force that train and exercise together would improve EU readiness to respond to possible future crises backed up by rapidly deployable forces. We as well believe that strategic compass discussion should provide a platform for finding consensus around these proposals. So Slovenia will, in its presidency role, strive to find a common ground on this idea, which opens the possibility of redefining our level of ambition and our EUBG concept.
Thank you very much. That was very clear. Again, those of you in the audience, this is your chance. If you have more questions or comments. Meanwhile, Minister, there is another part of the strategic compass discussion that we haven't touched upon that much, and that's the capabilities dimension. Do you see any areas for progress in terms of accelerating and maybe improving the output of Europe's capability development processes? And in this regard as well, can we imagine more synergies with NATO, and how might this work? Thank you.
Yeah, we are talking about strategic compass almost all the time, but for us it will be crucial what will be the consequences of this paper. We can have a fancy paper with many pages, everything will be polished and written in the right forms, but what will be the consequences? So in the terms of capabilities, it's still important how countries are investing in defense sector, or what are the defense budgets. So in a way, if European Union wants to be a real player and or a global player, then I think it's necessary that we follow the NATO's showcase, because there are some recommendations how much you should spend. You should spend for the defense budget and for the capabilities and so on. I think that providing the sufficient amount of money, it's the only clear and straightforward path for providing capabilities.
Indeed, there I think we definitely agree that the compass, should be an actionable document that leads to precise action points, and not to a next document. I see.
It cannot. Sorry. Yeah, the strategic compass shouldn't be another resolution, but rather an action plan. If it will be a resolution, then in 3-4 years' time, nobody will know about the strategic compass, what really means and for what it was made. That's why we would like to develop strategic compass more in a way of an action plan. That's why when High Representative Borrell visited Slovenia in the beginning of July, we had a discussion, and in this discussion we both agreed that we need as soon as possible a rough proposal draft of the strategic compass, that we can start debating about concrete things, not just about the principles, but about concrete actions. And I hope that we are pushing that we would come to the rough draft already in October, not in November, but in October. We will see what will happen.
Thank you. Meanwhile, we have another question, short but specific. How do you intend to work with the European Parliament?
The answer is clear and simple. Very good. I think that there is no specific reason why we shouldn't cooperate very well with the European Parliament. I see European Parliament as an important pillar or actor player in the framework of CSDP.
Indeed, and so it is. Building on that, maybe the obvious next question is, but I'm sure your answer will be the same. How about the European Commission?
Yeah, I read articles in Politico and other newsletters what they were reporting about the first visit of Commission in Slovenia in the beginning of our presidency. Of course, look, I have very good cooperation with the Commission. As I said, High Representative Josep Borrell, who is responsible for CSDP, even took some extra days in Slovenia, and I had the opportunity to discuss with them some details, how we will organize our presidency, where will be our focus, and where we have to push forward some things, where we have to debate with the other countries to find a common denominator. So what regards me, I have excellent cooperation with the Commission. On the 1st of July, on the island Blake, I spoke with Commissioner Timmermans, and we had a nice and frank discussion. So I don't see a problem.
Thank you very much. As the audience seems to have been fully satisfied with your answers, that's always positive. I would maybe give you the chance if you want to make a final comment before we bring this session to a close.
Yeah. First, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to present our priorities. I really appreciate it. Believe me that we worked hard for this presidency, even though that we are a small country, but more than 2,000 people are included in the process of our presidency. We have more than 200 diplomats in Brussels. We are well prepared. We are ambitious. We are absolutely sure that we will do the good job, and that after 6 months, European Union will be satisfied with our work, no matter all, let's say, no, I will make a dot here.
Perfect. Minister, thank you very much. One, for your clear expose, frank answers. Once again, I wish you a lot of success with the presidency. I hope maybe our paths will cross not also in cyberspace, but also in real life in Brussels or Ljubljana. And I believe, as you told me before we started, that you are also expected in Parliament now. That too is important for the minister. So a lot of success there also. Thank you again. Thank you to the presidency for working with us. Thank you to the audience also for the active participation. Watch this spot. We will do a lot more on CSDP and other related issues. Have a nice rest of the day, everybody, and goodbye.
Thank you, Sven. Bye.